Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jai Tulsi Maharani ki jai. So today is a special day on the Vaishnava calendar. It's called Ananta Chaturdasi, and I'll explain in a second what that is. And also, it is the glorious appearance day of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and also it's the glorious disappearance day of Srila Haridas Thakur, the Namacharya. So in honor of Haridas Thakur, actually Ananta Chaturdasi, let me describe what that is. That's actually a special day for worshiping Anantadev. Anantadev, of course, is the serpent bed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The expansion of Lord Vishnu, there's the Chatur Vyuha expansion, Vasudev Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So this Sankarshan is actually Ananta. So it's a very important day. In many temples, they have celebrations of Ananta Chaturdasi. And it's also the day that Haridas Thakur passed away, Bhaktivinoda Thakur manifested in this world. So we're going to chant the prayers of the departed Vaishnavas. Ye anila prema jana Corona Pracho. Yellow prima donna, corona braccio. Ain't no problem. Kota ke laga kacharya dako. Ain't no problem. Kota ke laga kacharya dako. Kamora saru prupa kakatsana chagan. Kamora saru prupa kakatsana chagan. Kakasatsa Raghunatha Patita Bhavan. Kamora Bhatta Juga Kakakaviras. Ekakale Kota Kela Corona Taras. Pashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Goranga Kuneranete Kota Gele Papa. Say Sabah Sangira Sange Zekoela Vilas. Say Sanga Napaya Kande Nanatamodas. Jayanilo Prema Dana Corona Prachur Jayanilo Prema Dana Corona Prachur Jaya Jaya Thakur Jaya Jaya Thakur Jaya Thakur Jaya Jaya Thakur Jaya Haridas Thakur Jaya Haridas Thakur Haridas Thakur Jaya Haridas Thakur Jaya Bhakti Vinod Thakur Jaya Bhakti Vinod Thakur Jaya Bhakti Vinod Thakur Jaya Bhakti Vinod Thakur Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Prem say Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shivai Gadadha Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Nigajai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayama Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturanam Ki Jai Jagadava Swami Ki Jai Manamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakti Vedanta Samgosavitsya Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya. Utle Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gaurvani Vacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi. Paschatya Deja Tarni. Somagana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakya Chakshur Urmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, of course, we're not going to be able to deal with both these great personalities elaborately today. But I just wanted to start with a poem written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur on Haridas Thakur's Samadhi. So we're actually covering both of them by this poem. And then we'll talk about Bhaktivinoda Thakur specifically. O born of Muslim parents, Haridas, and trained in youth in Muslim creed, thy noble heart to Vaishnava truth did pass, thy holy acts, thy candor plead. Is there a soul that cannot learn from thee? That man must give up sect for God. Sect in this particular means some particular religion rather than the Sanatana Dharma. That thoughts of race and sect can ne'er agree with what they call religion broad. Very interesting statement by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Thy love of God and brother soul alone, bereft thyself of early friends, thy softer feelings oft to kindness prone, led on thyself for higher ends. I weep to read that Qazis and their men oft persecuted thee, alas, but thou didst nobly pray for the wicked them. For thou wert Vaishnava, Haridas, and God is boundless grace to thee, O man, united thee to one who came to save the fallen souls from evil's plan of taking human souls to shame. And he it was who led you all that came for life eternal, holy, pure, and gave you rest in heaven's endearing name and sacred blessings ever sure. Thy body rests upon the sacred sands of Swargardwar near the sea. Oh, hundreds come to thee from distant lands to enjoy a holy, thrilling glee. The waters roar and storming winds assail thy ears in pain. I, Vaishnava soul, the charms of Vrindavana, thy heart regale. Unknown the wheel of time doth roll. He reasons ill, and this is the famous verse. He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still and sound. The Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread a holy name, holy life around. Now let the candid man who seeks to live follow thy way on shores of time, then posterity sure to him will give, like one song in simple rhyme. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Haridas Thakur ki jai. So now we're going to begin to talk about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Just a little summary of his biography. I have quite a bit of information here. He was born in September 2nd, 1838. Of course, this, according to the Vaishnava calendar, it's the same day. And he was actually born in a family that had very, very little respect for Krishna and Krishna consciousness. In fact, sometimes he is called Daitya Kulgara Prahlad, that he's like Prahlad, born in the family of the demons. And he was named Kedarnath, which is the name of Lord Shiva. Of course, Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Lord, Vaishnavadam Yata Shambhu. So early in life, there was a disaster in his family, because when he was 11 years old, his father passed away, and then his family lost everything, and he had to endure many, many difficulties. His mother arranged a marriage for him when he was 12 years old to a 5-year-old girl, and of course that marriage wasn't consummated until everybody was of major age. So he went through so many struggles. He went through it. 18 years of age, he entered the college in Calcutta, and he started writing extensively in English and Bengali. He was also quite educated in Sanskrit, because we're going to hear later on that many of his literatures were composed directly in Sanskrit. So at this particular time, he wasn't that much interested in Vaishnava philosophy, because Vaishnava philosophy, or the Vaishnava practices, had fallen into disrepute, especially due to the different deviant Vaishnava sects like Ol and Gol and Kartabhaja, the Sahaja sects of Vaishnavism. And so he thought, this is not something that I'm very interested in. I'm more interested in the monotheistic philosophy that's taught in the Western world. So he was very much interested in Christian theology, and he found it much more interesting than Hindu monism, because it generally, yes, what was taught in the name of Hinduism was something either Sahaja or monism or impersonalism and voidism. So he became attracted to reading the writings of different English authors like Channing, Parker, Emerson, and Newman. And he actually gave lectures on their particular presentation of philosophy. So soon he went to Orissa and he visited his paternal grandfather, and his paternal grandfather instructed him just before he left this body, because he wanted to see Bhaktivinoda Thakur before he left his body. The grandfather left his body, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was 21. He gave instructions to Bhaktivinoda Thakur to visit all the temples in the state of Orissa. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur visited them, even though he had a predilection towards Christianity rather than Hinduism at this particular time. So around 1863, he's a Nityasiddha devotee. So you can't really say that his devotion started, but his manifestation, external manifestation of devotion started. This is a pastime. Sometimes Krishna puts his devotees into families that are not Krishna conscious or in the Western world to show how people can develop Krishna consciousness even though they're inherently, eternally Krishna conscious by nature, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And sometimes Krishna puts his devotees into pure devotee families like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the famous son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and of course our spiritual master is Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. But in 1863, he received for the first time copies of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, which he had been looking for. Especially, he was interested in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And by reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, his faith, now again, this is a pastime, I have to caution you that don't criticize or think that he wasn't a devotee before. He's a Nityasiddha devotee. His faith in Krishna consciousness developed, and then he was absorbed in Krishna conscious shastras day and night, and began to write songs about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he spent a lot of time in seclusion chanting the holy names and writing Vaishnava literatures. And then he began to write several books about Krishna consciousness, and these books were in Sanskrit. Some of his original books, like the Krishna Samhita, Tattva Sutra, and Tattva Viveka, and another literature called the Kalyana Kalpataru, and another literature. He was quite a prolific author, perhaps one of the most prolific authors of all time, and another called Datta Kosuba. So while he was in Puri, he was stationed in Puri, he organized a Vaishnava society where they met at the garden where Ramananda Rai did bhajan, and all the prominent Vaishnavas joined him, except to one particular Vaishnava named Raghunath Das Babaji, who was known as a Siddha Purusha, means a perfect devotee. So this Raghunath Das Babaji didn't want to associate with Bhaktivinoda Thakur because he thought he was unauthorized, because he didn't have tilak on at that time, and he didn't have kantimala. Because the system was, at that particular time, that you got the tilak and kantimala when you were initiated. But Srila Prabhupada was so merciful to us that he had us wear kantimala and put on tilak, even for the first time. And in many festivals, the devotees have a booth where they actually put tilak on everybody who comes, like the Polish festivals. So this is great, great compassion. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't have these particular external symptoms at that time. So this particular Siddha Purush, Raghunath Das Babaji, he advised others to avoid Bhaktivinoda Thakur's association. And shortly after that, he got a deadly illness. And Lord Jagannath appeared to him in a dream and said, "You better take shelter of Bhaktivinoda Thakur if you want to survive." So he did so, and he went to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave him special medicines that cured him, and he became aware of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's great spiritual position. Another thing happened in Jagannath Puri, which is quite famous. There was a personality named Charana Das Babaji who had this bogus mantra, which even today is going on. And they have a place right next to, at least they used to have a place right next to our Krishna Balaram Mandir. It was Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam, Hari Krishna, Hari Ram. It was actually Japa Hari Krishna, Hari Ram. So that mantra stated you shouldn't chant Hari Krishna mantra publicly or in Sankirtan, you should chant it just in japa. So this, of course, went against Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur preached to him. And after some time, he came to his senses, admitting his fault. But still, because of his offenses to the holy name, he went mad and died in great distress. So shortly after that, in Jagannath Puri, Bhaktivinoda Thakur became the manager of the Jagannath Mandir, where he established regular devotional service, punctual devotional service. We see in some pictures of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he had a pocket watch. At that time, people didn't have wristwatches, or at least it wasn't that well known. And so he regulated the deity worship in Jagannath Puri to extreme punctuality. And as Srila Prabhupada said, when he installed the deities, that cleanliness and punctuality are the first two items in deity worship. Cleanliness and punctuality. And of course, nice bhoga, tasty bhoga, clean bhoga for the deities. So these are the essential items. And of course, devotees sometimes add different mantras and other things like that. But without those three, or even the two things, cleanliness and punctuality, Krishna is not going to accept. So anyway, so he regulated the deity worship. And during this particular time, his fourth son was born. And his fourth son was named Bimal Prasad, who later on became known as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was regulating the temple and also supervising the finances of the temple. And he discovered that the king of Puri had taken 80,000 rupees. And at that time, that was a lot. Nowadays, it wouldn't be considered that much. But he was taken basically from the hundi, and he was using it for sense gratification. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, having the authority, even over the king, because he was a magistrate there, forced the king to spend that money, spend his own money, to give Lord Jagannath Bhoga 52 times a day. And of course, we know that King Indradunya got that benediction from Lord Jagannath that Lord Jagannath's hands would never be dry. In other words, he'd be eating all day long. So the king's money began to run out, and the king was really angry at Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he thought, we have to kill Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But he understood he couldn't directly shoot him or whatever way they had of killing people at that time. So he thought, let's perform a sacrifice. And he hired 50 Brahmins to perform a sacrifice for 30 days to kill Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But after those 30 days, it was the king's son who passed away rather than Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur was made magistrate in other places. Later on, he published many, many books. One of the Englishmen wrote in regard to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's contribution in 1880, by representing Krishna's character and his worship in a more sublime and transcendental light than has hitherto been the custom to regard him, you have rendered an essential service to your co-religionists. In other words, most people thought that the Vaishnava philosophy was a philosophy of sahajism and, sexual impropriety. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur established this, that it was actually something that was sublime and pure. And no one could have taken more delight in your work than my departed friend. So he refers to his friend. So in 1877, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had another son, and fifth son, called Virada Prasad. So then, finally, he took initiation at about 1878, 1879, I don't have the exact year here, from Pancharatriki initiation, which is the Gayatri Mantra, from Bipini Vihari Goswami. Of course, already he was chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There's no in essence, there's no requirement for initiation to chant Hare Krishna. That's mentioned, brought out very, very clearly in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So he took initiation from Vipini Vihari Goswami, who descended from Janavamata's family. So he was a bona fide disciplic succession. Although later Bhaktivinoda Thakur had some disagreements with Vipini Vihari Goswami, who was more into ritualistic Brahmanism, and especially Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Midnapur had this whole discussion in which there was an argument as to whether someone had to be born in a Brahmin family to be a bona fide spiritualist, or if a Vaishnava was automatically a Brahmin. So they had this discussion, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur won in this particular discussion, and Vipini Vihari Goswami and his followers were defeated. So even there is some statement that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would not go near Vipini Vihari Goswami or even offer obeisances to him. So there's this transcendental disagreement, but of course we don't criticize these great personalities. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur started publishing in 1881 his Sajjana Toshani, a Vaishnava journal, and he desired again to go to Braj, and he took 3 months off, and there he met Jagannath Das Babaji, who moved every 6 months between Navadvip and Vrindavan. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur accepted him as his eternally worshipable Shiksha Guru. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks about the Shiksha Sampradaya. And in many cases, the links in our Sampradaya are Siksha links rather than Diksha links. You have many, many cases. Like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev Vidyabhushan. So this is the important, the essence of presenting Krishna consciousness. And of course, Diksha is important. It's extremely important to take Diksha. At the same time, Shiksha is considered to be more important than Diksha. So anyway, so he went to Vrindavan and he took care of some dacoits called Kanjaharas who were robbing and killing pilgrims, and he put them in jail. Then he went back to Krishnanagar. He was posted in Krishnanagar, and he used to go to Navadvip to search for the birth site of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one night he was sitting on the rooftop of the Rani Dharma Shala in Navadvip chanting on his beads, and when he looked out, he spotted a very tall tree, that's a type of palm tree, which had some substance attached to it, and there was a glow, a remarkable effulgence coming from it. So then he went to the library, which is called the Krishnanagar Collectory, where he studied very, very old manuscripts of the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and also another book called the Navadvip Dham Parikrama by Narahari Sarka, and some old maps of Nadia. And then he spoke with many people, and he discovered that that place he had seen from the Dharmashala rooftop was in fact the appearance place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Later on, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was brought there, and even though Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was like 115, 120 years old, and he was being carried in a basket by his servant Bihari, he jumped out of the basket and started dancing in ecstasy when he was brought to this particular location. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur established this as the appearance place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although in the city of Navadvip they were still claiming, and do still claim that to be the appearance place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But this bona fide appearance place is where Bhaktivinoda Thakur discovered the Yoga Pit. So in 1887, Bhaktivinoda Thakur renovated the house of Jagannath Das Babaji, and he took leave from his office and established a place in Godam Dweep, or Swarupganj. This is across the Jalangi River from our temple in Sridham Mayapur, and he built a retirement house there for bhajan and called it Surabhi Kunja. And he also established the Namahat, or the marketplace for the holy name there. And he considered himself the street sweeper of the Namahat of Lord Nityananda. He wrote to him about himself like that. So, anyway, there's more history. I just wanted to go ahead with this and talk about his qualities at the end. So, first of all, I want to read another statement by a Calcutta High Court judge about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then we'll talk about Bhaktivinoda Thakur's daily schedule. He wrote, "I knew Bhaktivinoda Thakur intimately as a friend and a relation. Even under the pressure of official work as a magistrate in charge of heavy subdivision, he would always find time for devotional contemplation and work. And whenever I met him, our talk would turn in a few moments to the subject of bhakti and Dvaita Vada." So that's like a Chincha Beta Beta type of similar. And the saintly work that lay before him. Service to God is the only thing he longed for, and service under the government, however honorable, was to him a clog. In other words, something you had to do, but you really didn't want to do. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was so determined not to waste any time that even he timed himself in such a way that he would maximize his ability to write, like His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada did. And here's his schedule, his typical daily schedule. In the evening, he would take rest from 7:30 to 8 o'clock at night, and he would rise at 10 o'clock, and he'd light his oil lamp and write, and then he'd write all night long until about 4 a.m. Then he would take a little rest until 4:30. And then he would wash his hands and face and chant japa until about 7 in the morning. At 7 o'clock, he would write letters and take care of other correspondence. At 7:30, he would read some Vaishnava literatures, and he did that until 8:30 in the morning. And at 8:30 in the morning, he would receive whatever guests had come to see him or take his darshan, or he would continue to read till about 9:30. And at 9:30, he took another 15-minute power nap. So actually, this is before anyone heard of power naps. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur understood this principle. So at 9:45, he'd take his bath, take a breakfast of half quart of milk, couple of chapatis, fruit, and by 9:55, that only gives 10 minutes anyway, he would go to court in a carriage, and he would wear Western clothes, coat and pants, but he would always have his tulsi mala. And actually, these were double-sized tulsi mala. You can see a picture of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They were really big. And tilak on his forehead. He was very strong in his decisions, and he would decide the court cases immediately. He wouldn't allow any what's called humbug. Of course, that's an old word. It means nonsense in his courtyard. And nobody could stand before him. And it's described in other biographies that he actually did a full day's work in half a day. He was so efficient. So he shaved his head every month, and he was so strict that even in his bhajans, he never allowed harmoniums, what to speak of other instruments we have. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was very compassionate. And I was actually just listening to some memory when Prabhupada was in New Zealand, and there were two groups. There were Siddha Sarupananda's group and the regular ISKCON group. And the Siddha Sarupananda's group, they had guitars and they played music for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada appreciated it. Prabhupada didn't criticize them for that. And he never had any debts. So at 10 o'clock, of course, the court began. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the court was finished. He'd come home and bathe and refresh. At 2 o'clock, return to office. And at 5 p.m., he'd translate works from Sanskrit to Bengali, then take an evening bath and a meal of rice, couple of chapatis, half quart of milk. And it's described, as I mentioned before, he always consulted a pocket watch and kept time very punctually. He was never prideful, never accepted gifts from anyone, declined all honors, strict in his moral principles, and did not even chew betel, which was very common at that time. He never went to theaters. He spoke Bengali, Sanskrit, English, Latin, Urdu, Persian, and Orient. And he started writing books at age 12 and continued turning out a profuse number of volumes up until his departure from the world. And there's a whole list of books which I'm not going to read, but I can actually show you several pages. I'm paging down or paging across. These are books and articles that he wrote. Oh my God. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. So, a little bit about Haridas Thakur. So, we have just 4 minutes. So, of course, Haridas Thakur was named the Namachari. He was born in a Muslim family, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as the main teacher of the holy names. And he was so determined to chant the holy names that there's some stories. One particular story is a famous story of how the Muslim government, the Qazi, or in the Nawab, they wanted him to stop chanting. Oh, there's bugs here. They told him, you're a Muslim, you have to stop chanting. And so they arrested him for chanting the holy name of the Lord, and they demanded that he act like a regular Muslim. And so he refused. He said, I'm never going to give up chanting. You can do anything you want. And so they decided to whip him in 22 marketplaces. And as he was being whipped in 22 marketplaces, he kept chanting the holy name of the Lord. And eventually, he saw that the people who were whipping him were worried because they weren't accomplishing what they were supposed to accomplish, which was to kill him. And so they thought, we're going to get in trouble. So he said, is that all? I can help you. And he immediately went into trance and feigned that he had left his body. They brought his body before the Qazi, and the Qazi said, don't bury him, throw him into the river. So they threw the body into the river, and he got up, and he walked away and was chanting after a few miles as he floated down the river. So at that point, they actually apologized to him and realized that he was a great saint. So, other stories about Bhaktivinoda, about Haridas Thakur, is that he was tested. There was this, he was in Banopala, of course I may be pronouncing it wrong, and then there was one envious landholder called Ramchandra Khan, who wanted to defame Haridas Thakur. And he thought, the way I can defame Haridas Thakur, and he was very upset that Haridas Thakur was getting all this profit adoration, not profit, but adoration, is that he thought he could have some prostitutes come and lure Haridas Thakur and cause Haridas Thakur to fall down from Krishna consciousness. So he called for all the neighborhood prostitutes, and one particular prostitute, a very young, attractive girl, said, I can do that. Just give me 3 days with Haridas Thakur. And so she went to be with Haridas Thakur, and he was chanting right next to a Tulsi plant. And she offered obeisance to the Tulsi plant, and Haridas Thakur said that I'll be happy to enjoy with you, but I have to finish my rounds. And so one day, this went on, and he apologized to her. He said, I'm sorry, I didn't finish my rounds. Second day, this went on, as she was also emulating the chanting that Haridas Thakur was doing. And the third day, because she was emulating the chanting and offering obeisances to Haridas Thakur and Tulsi Mala. She apologized to Haridas Thakur and became a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I mean, there's so many stories about Haridas Thakur. A similar thing happened with Maya Devi herself, who approached Haridas Thakur, this similar story, for 3 days, and eventually Maya Devi herself, who had previously tried to lure Haridas Thakur by displaying postures that would bewilder the mind even of Lord Brahma, took initiation from Haridas Thakur. So, Haridas Thakur ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Driya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiranganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham.
And of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Vaishnavas, and ultimately Radha and Krishna. So the way we do this, we recite these Mangalacharana prayers responsively. Please turn off the phone. Hare Krishna. Go outside if you're on the phone. because we can hear everything. So we're going to recite them responsively, and then at the end, we go back to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's pranam prayers, and we're going to offer flowers 9 times 3 times 3, 3, 3, and 3, not 3 times 3. But anyway, you'll hear and you'll see. So please repeat. Om Ganam Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shiguro Shiyuta Padakamalam Shigurun Vaisnavamscha Shirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shirada Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shimate Bhaktivedanta Samin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pasyacha Dejatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Saranta Sarasate Iti Namane Shivarshavanavi Devi Goyitaya Kripabdeye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Jayane Prabhave Namaha Madhurya Ujjvala Premaja Shirupanuga Bhaktida Shigora Konana Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shimurte Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaurikashoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murte Vipralamba Rasambode Padambujaya Te Namaha Namo Bhaktivedodaya Sachidananda Namane Gaurashakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gora Avirbhava Umestram Nideshta Sajanapriya Vaisnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattva Admakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Tushe Namaha Hey Krishna Korana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Sudatal Pangor Mamamanda Matergati Matsarvashva Panambhujao Radha Madanamohana Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumadaha Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastha Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Deva Prestalibi Savyamana Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambe From Shivata Tatastitaha Karchan Venu Swanayara Gopir Gopinatha Shri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Surupaya Rupanuga Varayate Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namane Gaurashakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Jai Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. Yeah, you ready?
Samsara dava ladalita loka tranayakaya naganava samsara dava ladalita loka tranayakaya naganava Praptasya kayana gunaravasya Vande Guru Shri Jadanara Vrindam
Can you mention it's a half-day fast?
Gunaravasya Vande Guru Shri Jadanara Vrindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vadvija Madhyan Manasora Mahaprabhu Kir Anavija Gita Vadvija Madhyan Manasora Romanja Kampa Shrutaranja Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Shadanara Rindam Romancha Kampa Taranja Vajo Vande Guru Shri Shadanara Rindam Shri Vigrahara Nananicha Nana Shringaratan Mandira Majanado Rivigrahara Nananichanana Shringaratan Mandira Majanado Yuktasya Bhaktams Chanayunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Jadanara Rindam Yuktasya Bhakta Chanayunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Jadanara Rindam Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasado Swavana Triptin Hari Bhakta Sanghang Chaturvida Bhagavat Prasado Swavana Triptin Hari Bhakta Sanghang Kriptaiva Triptin Bhajatosa Daiva Vande Guru Shri Jadannaravindam Kriptaiva Triptin Bhajatosa Daiva Vande Guru Shri Jadannaravindam Shri Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhurya Leela Guru Rupa Nam Nam Shri Radhika Madhavayora Para Leela Guru Rupa Nam Nam Pratiksana Swadanu Lolupasya Vande Guru Shri Shadannaravindam Pratiksana Swadanu Lolupasya Vande Guru Shri Shadannaravindam